Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today we're going to look at Larry Scott's nutrition tips for the beginner. I recently acquired a collection of magazines and literature from Canadian Golden Era bodybuilder Wayne Shemaine that had some real gems in it, including a series of signed letters from Larry Scott when he was working out as a personal coach after retiring from bodybuilding competition. And within these letters are a plethora of information which I will start presenting and sharing starting off today in this series of videos on Larry Scott and his tips for beginners. The first thing that Larry points out is that diet is extremely important to the beginner. Here are the basic nutritional tips that Larry gives to the beginner. That is to watch the quality of carbohydrates that are eaten in the diet, to stay away from all refined and processed foods, and instead concentrating on foods high in protein and quality fats, which will enrich the diet and allow quality muscle to be packed on. When we look at the frequency of eating, Larry Scott, instead of eating 3 large meals, recommends that every day it is preferable to eat 6 smaller meals a day, and in doing so, less burden is placed on the digestive system. And of course, this all makes sense because the meals being smaller are going to be digested more thoroughly and faster, allowing one to absorb more of the food, the nutrients in the food that is actually ingested. In regards to high quality protein sources, Larry recommends, of course, these high protein foods, chiefly coming from meat, cheese, eggs, and dairy products. These are recommended by Larry for the beginner to maximize his or her muscle gains. Foods to avoid. Well, Larry recommends beginners to avoid all refined foods, such as breads, cakes, pastries, pancakes, tacos, and sugary foods. In fact, according to Larry's letter, he asks that the student minimize carbohydrate intake as much as possible and focus more on foods that are high in protein and fat, which is again why Larry recommends sticking to eating meat, cheese, eggs, and dairy products. I think these recommendations probably need a little bit of elaboration. Although I agree with Larry in that one's diet should have high enough protein and high enough fat, carbohydrates are also important. I believe that because Larry was a student of both Rio H. Blair and Vince Gironda, his nutritional knowledge was heavily influenced by their high protein and high fat approach. At least they approached it at times, especially Rio H. Blair. I mean, his approach, Rio H. Blair did not really advocate carbohydrate intake for the bodybuilder at all, but Vince Gironda did, especially for the beginner, as is obvious in his maintenance diet for the bodybuilder. I mean, I've said it many times before. Vince Gironda understood the role of proteins and fats and carbohydrates in muscle building. And although he was famous for his egg diet and for his steak and eggs diet, he did not banish carbohydrates. In his own words, if you read The Wild Physique and many of his other publications, he states that carbohydrates are important for the beginner trying to gain weight. So although Larry is correct in controlling one's carbohydrate intake and increasing one's protein and fat intake to balance out one's diet, beginners should not eradicate carbohydrates completely. I don't think that is what Larry was trying to imply. Now, in regards to what kinds of foods one should eat, Larry also recommends that the beginner source his food, if at all possible, from natural sources. Natural foods, of course, are high in nutrient value and can be better utilized by the body as opposed to refined foods that are devitalized and will not help in building quality muscle tissue. I definitely agree with Larry here. Natural foods will always be superior in nutritional value, and when possible, most of one's diet should be as whole and natural as possible. Now, looking at supplementation, Larry recommends that a high-quality milk and egg protein product should be consumed by the beginner, such as that sold by NSP Nutrition, whilst, for example, soy protein should be avoided. In Larry's opinion, milk and egg protein, to quote Larry, will make a big difference in your gains. You can't put much muscle tissue on soy protein, end quote. Now, I just want to comment here on Larry's statements, and yeah, I agree with Larry here on the fact that a quality milk and egg protein does help pack on size. mainly because it stimulates the increase in anabolic hormones such as IGF-1 and insulin, and I've done a video on this. And yes, I'm advertising NSP's milk and egg protein because it's one of the best ones out there, and to be honest, it's one of the only ones out there. It's a complete protein powder. That's why I continue to advertise it. That's why I support it. That's why I take it myself. The main issue with taking whey alone is that it basically just stimulates insulin and not necessarily IGF-1. It's also not long lasting. It digests very quickly, whereas milk and egg protein, which contains casein, will also allow IGF-1 stimulation, and it digests a little bit slower, and you're going to have basically a longer secretion of amino acid into your system that way, and therefore keeps you in a positive nitrogen balance and state for a much longer time. That's why I continually recommend milk and egg protein, as did the golden era legends back in the day. Now, at the time that Larry wrote these letters back in the late 1970s, of course, vegetable proteins were pretty inferior. However, I do know that they are much more balanced today and the quality has improved. However, from the current scientific literature, it does seem that the amino acid profiles of animal-sourced proteins are still superior and require less processing than that of vegetable proteins. Scientists still argue that for those who prefer plant-based proteins, adding branch-chain amino acids and even leucine specifically to your plant protein source would improve its essential amino acid profile and give a better muscle hypertrophy response. Now, how to take milk and egg protein? Well, Larry's recommendation on how beginners should take milk and egg protein, or other proteins for that matter, is as follows. To quote Larry, try to take a cup or two of the powder per day. Mix each cup with about 14 ounces of half and half. Try to take that throughout the day rather than loading your system up in one shot. Again, these recommendations are very similar to the recommendations of both Rio H. Blair and Vince Gironda. Larry also recommends that a beginner should increase supplement intake, especially when on a high protein, high fat diet. According to Larry, high protein, high fat diets tend to reduce the intake of certain vitamins and minerals, hence why supplementation is recommended. One particular supplement that should be taken is vitamin C, especially as the beginner begins to increase the volume and frequency of his training program. It has been shown in some studies that vitamin C can reduce muscle soreness and help speed up the recovery process after a strength training workout. Larry recommends the intake of at least 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram daily to reduce lactic acid buildup. Larry also recommended the intake of 500 international units of vitamin E daily to enhance recuperative power and endurance. It is now well established by modern science that vitamin E helps in the recovery of physical activity. Also recommended by Larry is a good vitamin B complex for cellular synthesis and an overall good multivitamin and mineral complex. Again, as Larry states, since one tends to eat less fruits and vegetables on a high protein, high fat diet, because they are high in carbohydrates, you will therefore need a vitamin mineral supplement to replace that which you've lost in your diet. Now, at the time of this letter, which was around 1979, Blair's protein was still the #1 protein of choice and was rather expensive to the average gym goer. For this reason, Larry Scott recommended that for beginners that could not afford protein powder, that they should start drinking more milk, like, of course, the Silver Era bodybuilders did during a time when supplements did not exist. Larry recommended the intake of a minimum of 2 quarts of milk, or almost 2 liters per day, and up to a gallon of milk a day, or up to 4 liters a day. And in Larry's words, milk is an excellent source of muscle building food. I agree again. It worked for the Silver Era bodybuilders, so it should work for us in this generation. Larry also recommended the increased intake of eggs. Of course, he was Vince's student. He was Rio Blair's student. In Larry's words again, quote, try to get your intake up to where you're eating 6, 8, sometimes a dozen eggs a day. They are one of the most complete foods that you will find. They are low in carbohydrates and high in protein and fat. They are an excellent food. End quote. At the time, Blair's protein also presented other difficulties, such as digestibility due to its high lactose content. The same was for whole milk, of course, as lactose-free milk did not exist back in the day. Therefore, along with eggs, Larry recommended the intake of desiccated liver as another protein source. So that was Larry's nutritional advice to the beginner. I do hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and if you have, please give the video a like and please subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and leave me your comments. As mentioned, these letters sent from Wayne not just cover nutritional advice, but also training programs and different diets designed by Larry Scott for the beginner bodybuilder. So I will be covering these in the near future. For those interested in acquiring scans of these letters, I will be uploading them to the new Vince's Gym group for you to read. Vince's Gym is a new online gym that allows you to train under the tutelage and guidance of Vince Gironda. Vince's Gym is online now, and if you click the link above or in the description below, you will have access to the training programs, diets, as well as exclusive content such as books written by Vince Gironda and demonstrations of all the exercises. That's right, video demonstrations of all the exercises he taught. And I will be personally uploading rare content up to the Vince's Gym vault, such as these letters from Larry Scott. So go hit the Vince's Gym link, join up and be part of the greatest gym that ever existed. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. And for those interested in learning the secrets of Larry Scott, Vince Gironda's top student and first Mr. Olympia, head to my website for the most extensive range of booklets on Larry Scott's bodybuilding methods, everything from bulking up for beginners, specialization courses, and advanced courses, as well as preparing for competition, all available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Need a bodybuilding poster for your gym or office? Then check out Iron Man Magazine archive.smugmug.com for the highest quality posters on the planet. Scroll through the galleries of all the legends, including greats such as Arnold, Frank Zane, Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, Tom Platz, and Larry Scott, and much, much more, and select your poster now. To support your favorite YouTube channel, please visit teespring.com/stores/Golden Era Bookworm for merchandise including t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, phone cases, and much, much more. Once again at teespring.com/stores/Golden Era Bookworm. Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding.
The golden era of bodybuilding was born on the sandy platforms, rusty rings, and blistering high bars of Muscle Beach, where young men and women performed feats of strength and gymnastics, igniting a fitness boom that would reverberate for decades. By the 60s and 70s, the golden era was in full form, spreading like wildfire, and engulfing a new generation of bodybuilders who wanted nothing more than an all-natural, well-rounded physique. This lifelong pursuit of physical perfection created legends, including a young Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno, the Golden Boy, Larry Scott, three-time Mr. Olympia, Frank Zane, and the Duke of Delts, Don Howarth. These men all had one thing in common. They all trained under the legendary Iron Guru, Vince Gironda. Vince believed above all else that bodybuilding was 85% nutrition, and he scoffed at anyone who took shortcuts to achieve their fitness goals. At NSP Nutrition, we hold true to our roots and maintain Vince's spirit alive by sharing his belief that all you need to achieve greatness is the right exercises, the right foods and supplements, and the right attitude. At NSP, you'll find all of Vince's training manuals and books, his many diets that pair perfectly with these exercises, and of course, small batch, high-quality production of Vince's original supplements. All our products are clean, superior formulas made from earth-grown nutrients, free of harmful chemicals, added sugars, and toxic preservatives. We make no compromises, take no shortcuts, and accept nothing but the best. Because the moment you decide to get back into shape or want to accelerate your gains and win your next competition, NSP will be by your side to help you achieve your personal health and fitness goals. That's how we maintain the spirit of the Golden Era champions and honor the legacy of our founder, Vince Gironda. Simply put, our customers trust NSP Nutrition, and they appreciate what we stand for. Once you become a customer, you become part of the NSP family. This is NSP's commitment to you.